gotta do this. 3, 2, 1. Hey everybody, welcome to episode number 4 of D&D Fabrication. What are we doing today, camera girl?
I don't know what.
Well, last episode we got our disc brake rotor hub from Chad at BMI Karts.
Thank you, Chad.
Louder! Thank you, Chad! So we're going to try and get that installed today. We'll get that mess fixed up. We've got a little bit of disassembly to do on the rear axle. We'll try and get that straightened out. So, camera girl,
Sorry.
stay tuned.
I was about to sneeze.
All right, everybody. So we got one thing left from the previous owners, where this is just a Chinese pocket bike caliper. I'm going to cut through this weld here. We'll get this bracket and stuff off of here, and then we'll work on putting the next set on. So let's slide this axle out of here and see if we can get some of this mess out of the way. So something you guys probably saw me do earlier is I put the entire axle assembly in and out and kind of got behind the seat and did some beating and pounding. I found that if you leave all of the set screws, all the keys out, that you can move the axle reasonably easy by just sliding it around into different mechanisms. So we're going to try and slide this side of it out and clear some stuff up. All right, so there is the good disc brake rotor with the improper hub. We're going to take that apart, mount up that new one, and put it right back on. But in the meantime, I want to get this welded on caliper mount out of here, and I think I'm probably just going to take a hammer to it. All right, what a mess that is. Get a good shot of that. Definitely tried their best on it, but we'll see if we can put something a little bit better together than that. I think while I've got this apart, I'll put a flap wheel on the grinder and see if I can clean up some of this weld. All right, so if you have the means, buy yourself a second grinder, because switching back and forth between the death wheel and the flapper wheel gets to be a pain in the butt. At some point, if I get to thinking about it, I'm going to buy a second one, and that way I can just leave them mounted up and I don't have to swap things out. Come around and get a shot of that, camera girl. This is where they had welded to it. You can see I got a little bit deep with that flap wheel. There's some changes coming to this area in the near future, so don't be concerned about that. All right, so we got that disc rotor and hub off. Good eye on Chad from BMI Karts spotting this being the wrong hub. Let's take this apart and we'll get the new one in place. One thing I've noticed, camera girl, is that it's a little difficult to try and get work done, but try and keep the shop focused so that folks can see what you're doing. Head back down here with that shot. Good Lord. I don't know who the madman was that tightened that up.
Person who owned it.
Alright, so that's a part. Now one thing to notice about this hub available from BMI where the old hub was obviously this kind of universal thing, and notice that it's smooth across the face. The new hub has this boss right here, which is going to help align this disc to be concentric with the hub and then with the axle. So let's get this out of the way. And I don't think there's a, well, maybe there is a left and a right. I think that's a little bit better looking than that. So let's put it together that way. All right, that looks pretty good. I can see the holes are lining up. So I took the time to go get some good hardware for this. And when you're buying hardware, always kind of pay attention to what the application is. There's potentially going to be a lot of shear force on this rotor and against the hub. The hub is keyed to the axle shaft, but the disc is attached to the hub with just 4 bolts. So I bought a little bit stronger bolts because as you put on the braking force, this shear force is going to be trying to slice through those bolts that way. So maybe it's a good time to spend a little bit more money on a little bit better hardware for those types of applications. Now also, when you buy grade 8 hardware, you should get grade 8 washers to go with it. The reason for that is because they fit just so much better. On a grade 3, there'd be a lot of slop in that. And on the grade 5s, grade 8s, the higher you go, the better the fit is. So let's drop that in there, and we'll pick that up, put a washer on. Oh, that's not long enough.
Darn it.
All right, so see, there's not enough threads there to engage the whole nut. So I'm going to put that on there for now just so we can get it installed, but we'll get the right length bolt the next time we go to the hardware store. For now, we can tighten these down, and then it'll certainly work well, but we'll get the right ones next time. So I'm just going to kind of rush through this, and
Don't do what we're doing here at home.
yeah,
We're not
don't do this at home.
professionals.
Do as I say, not as I do. My kids love hearing that.
Because Mom always says it. Don't worry, Mom, we love you.
All right, last one, and then we'll kind of buzz these down a little bit. Now I don't know, let's see, look at that. So I'm gonna have to tighten that down on the axle before I put that last bolt in. So let's buzz these down and just snug it up, get it back in place on the axle. We'll kind of go from there. You know, actually, I think I might leave these loose, and we'll tighten everything up together as an assembly. What do you think, camera girl? Sound like a good idea?
Yeah.
All right, well, let's go do that.
Roll.
All right, so we've got this loosely assembled. We're gonna fit this back onto the axle and wiggle things back into place. I'm gonna tell you that hub fits better. Very nice. Kind of have to shuffle these things around until that axle looks like about where it's supposed to go. Excellent. I can already tell that's going to run better for us. All right, so now let's put some hubs on. We'll stick some wheels on it. We'll center things up, and we'll see if we can start tightening stuff down. All right, so we got the axle in, we got the disc brake assembly kind of back in place. So I'm going to start from the right side of the axle. We're going to set things up, well, at least the best that I think we can. So the first thing on is the hub and the key. We're going to set the key in there, push it all the way to the edge. We'll set the hub in place. Can you see how that went on camera, girl?
Yeah, I had to move because your arm wasn't moving.
Right? Like we talked earlier, it's a little difficult sometimes making sure that that things work the way you expect them to when you're trying to set up a shot. We're definitely learning. Like for example, I forgot to get the anti-seize and the impact wrench.
Yeah.
Oh, and I'll just keep on talking while we're doing this. So the importance of anti-seize when you're mixing materials, especially like putting stainless steel into aluminum or stuff like that, and you're using an impact driver to do some of that work, it's critical that you use anti-seize so you don't get galling on the threads and the things don't lock up on you. Because once they do, it tears up the threads in the aluminum and then you're done for. So we're putting this pinch bolt back in. We've got the keyway in there. Put them all the way out. And we'll do just a light. And I think what I'll even do is grab a 3/8 drive ratchet.
I moved closer, sorry.
And manually drive that home so that we don't end up with any issues.
Because you don't want
I think something we need to do is find out. I'm sorry, what were you saying, camera girl?
Oh, you don't want something bad to happen.
Yeah, that's right. We don't want anything bad to happen. All right, so that hub is locked to the axle. We've got the key in there. I'm going to stick one of these old hubs on there just so I can see what the alignment is. All right, so what I'm looking at is the line of this hub up against the motor, up against everything, to make sure I got plenty of clearance for the tire in there. It looks like I do. So that means the axle is okay where it's at, position left to right. Now, on these bearings, they have set screws in them that you can run down and lock this thing against the shaft. Can you see that very well?
Yes.
All right. I'm going to lock that. And then there's another one about 90 degrees off. I've got those on each side of the key slot. Now the bearing assembly itself is not slotted, so it doesn't lock to the axle. So I've got that locked down. Something else I wanted to do, so that we're not relying solely on that bearing to locate the axle, I bought some lock collars, and these are from Curtis, Innovative Karting. Thank you, Curtis. Bring your shot over here, camera girl. This is what these split collars look like. They do have a key, but they don't have any way of retaining the key. So these just kind of slip onto each side. I'm gonna run this down just to hold them together. And what I want to do is I'm gonna slide these down next to that bearing assembly so that they'll help lock that axle into place and be kind of a safety measure for us. The shaft, I'm gonna straddle it over the keyway. I'm gonna run these down. I put some anti-seize on them. Bit stayed with the screw. All right, and then I'm gonna just put these on a ratchet real quick, make sure that I've got a reasonable amount of torque on them. I hate doing that with impact because you never know just how crazy you're getting with it. All right, so that split collar makes a nice backup to locating that axle left to right. That's not going to go anywhere. So now next up, we're going to align this sprocket to that drive sprocket, and then we'll lock down this in place. So hang tight for that.
Good.
All right, so we got that axle locked in place. We got the right side done. Right side hub's good. Got a split collar on there so to lock things into place. So now, what we need to do is need to line up this sprocket to that sprocket, left to right. So I'm going to put a key in there and lay that in there. Wiggle this a little left, a little right. All right, that's in. We're just going to take an eyeball on this alignment. How's that looking, camera girl? You got a better angle than I do. Looking pretty close?
I think so.
All right. So
What do you guys think?
that's right. Let us know in the comments what you guys think. We're gonna put some anti-seize on that one, and same thing here. If I haven't harped on this enough yet, make sure you always use anti-seize. Last thing you want is screwing up hardware because there's no anti-seize on it. All right, we got that bolt in. We'll roll this back, put that bolt in. All right, then I'm gonna reach across. Pardon my reach.
That's okay.
I'm gonna run these down just a little bit. All right, there we go. All right, so those are snug now. That sprocket's still a little loose. So what we're gonna do now is we're gonna take the chain. Use the chain to help us align this. I'm gonna lay it right across that drive sprocket. And then we're going to lay it across the driven sprocket. And Camera Girl's got the good angle, so she's going to tell us when that looks pretty well lined up. A little bit to the left.
I think it's good.
All right. So I'm going to hold that right there.
And is it supposed to be straight?
Yeah, what we don't want, and let's do this for our viewers, right? You don't want that chain being across there like that. You don't want it rubbing against the sides of the sprocket. You want it to be a straight line between the two. So way off like this, that's wrong. Way off like this. You want to get right in the middle. And what I'm kind of looking at is how these teeth that are forward are lining up in that chain. You can see like that tooth is way over against the side of the chain right there. I'm getting a good shot of that sparkle right there. Right, same way over here. That chain is up against that tooth. So we're going to look down in there and we're going to try and line the both of them up in the center. And then I'll hold it. And we will run that down. And that sprocket doesn't move anymore. And back's killing me. Oh wait.
You alright?
Yeah, I'm good. I just noticed our key has come out of the slot. Alright, let's back that off a little bit. We'll try that lineup again. Camera girl, you're definitely going to need to give me a back rub later. Is that alright?
No. I guess so. I mean, you don't have any bunions.
That's a foot rub, not a back rub. You have bunions on your back. Alright, let's loosen this up.
That's...
Shove that back in there. Now let's make sure our sprocket is aligned. That's looking pretty good. Keys aligned. I cut the keys a little bit long so that I could always get a glance at them whenever I'm giving a once over to the cart. Dang it, that moved.
Do you want me to stop
that's
and
not too
hold
bad.
something for you?
No, I think we're good. But it may be. Well, what we're going to do is see if that key becomes trapped in there after we tighten down both sides. I don't know. I don't like that. That key still moves. I guess we're going to figure out what to do with that. Alright, so we reached a little bit of a conundrum. What we've got is this key, even though the sprocket carrier is tightened down, the key is still moving around. So I don't know if we're supposed to put split collars on each side to keep that key in there, or whether the sprocket carrier should be clamping down on it or not. There's not a set screw option for this. So we're really kind of lost to what to do. But for now, we're going to plug in the key for the rear disc brake and see if we can get that tightened down. I originally had cut this key for the other shaft, or I'm sorry, the other hub. And this one certainly fits a lot tighter than that one did. Camera girl, I'm going to have to lean in on you there.
I can't even see you.
Alright, so there that is. So the key's in. For now, well actually, let's go ahead and talk about this other part here. What was on there, just maintain your shot, camera girl. I don't know where I put it. It's that little pocket bike caliper, the one we just knocked off. Well, anyway, we took some other garbage off, and we're going to be putting some new stuff on.
It's behind you.
Is it?
Why isn't that little piece right there?
No, the piece that was mounted to that. It don't matter. So we took that little mini bike or pocket bike caliper off. We're going to put a new caliper on. We've got a couple of choices. So this is a mechanical parking brake, I believe off a Goldwing. It's cable actuated, and you can see the pads moving in and out there. And I was thinking that I wouldn't have to do a whole lot of modification to make that work for this application. I even put it on and tested it, and it does clamp down on that rotor pretty aggressively. I just need to make a mounting option for it and figure out how I'm going to attach the cable. Sadly, this is where the cable comes out and attaches, and that's where the ball connector is. So this thing should really actually be on this side, but now I'm going to have to come up with some kind of fabrication idea to mount this off of into the air there. So I think probably what we'll end up doing is something in this area, bringing that cable up and over, and just adapting to it. But for now, I'm just going to tighten down this hub, get this thing locked into place, and we might go for a test drive without brakes.
Oh, heck no.
What? You don't think that'd be safe?
No, guys, don't listen to what he said.
Did I cross your shot? I'm so sorry. Forgive us, viewers. We are butt amateurs. I just called you a butt amateur.
That's okay.
All right, let's see. Did that clamp down on that? Oh, it did. It clamped down on that key. See that? I can't push that. All right. So, yeah, I was kind of surprised about that sprocket carrier. That's an oddity I wasn't aware of. All right, so now we got that hub locked in. Let's put our final bolt in there. Let me grab that real quick. And some hardware. And remember, folks, don't beat me up. I'm going to go get the right hardware. So we got all the right links in there. But for now, we can just run these together. Am I still getting in your shot, camera girl?
No.
That's...
They're not going to beat you up because they don't know where you live.
That's right. Y'all don't know where we live. Don't start
I'm not telling you.
All right, let me grab a wrench
And your old thing that you're looking for is on the bench.
Is it? That's another new one. All right, let me crowd you a little bit here. We'll run these down. All right, it looks like that's running nice and true. So then the final thing is to take this last big key. We're gonna slide this sub right out to the edge. And you got a good shot of that? Let me do it again?
No.
No? All right, I'm gonna do it again then.
No, I'm good.
All right, so we got the key laid in there. Spin it around so things line up. Push everything out to the edge. You don't want to go too far. You don't want to get up into that rounded edge there too much. Bring the hub right up to the edge. Now, I don't know if there are different schools of thought for doing that or not, but I'm like, it's easy enough to line it up right at the edge and make it happen. As always, a little bit of anti-seize, and this is especially critical for the stainless into aluminum. That crap will booger up on you like crazy. All right. for a new set of tools, isn't it? Alright. Check that keyway, make sure that's all the way. Let me lock this down. Alright. That looks pretty good. Alright, so while we're here, we'll tighten down these bearings. I'm going to lock them in on each side of that key slot. A little bit more aggressive with them. So the only thing we have left to figure out, other than the caliper mount, is what we're going to do with that key that's over there on that sprocket carrier that's sliding around. I don't like the idea of trying to run it without that figured out. Oh, I forgot to put this split collar on. I think what we'll do is get a couple more split collars and trap that key in there. Alright, so last thing you do is got to put that split collar on. As always, the anti-seize.
Where'd you get it?
The anti-seize? You know, it's a bottle I've had for years and years and years. So I don't really remember. You know, I am a little bit old. Alright, so we got that half on there. Get this half on there. Get that bolt started by hand. You don't ever want to start bolts with an impact. If you get that thing crooked, that impact's going to kick in and start driving that thing in sideways on you. Screw up your threads in the aluminum. At that point, you're doomed. Alright, that's looking pretty good. Alright, so next thing we got to do, we got to put this master link back in this chain. We did the alignment earlier. I'm going to put this in my hand. Alright, let me know when you're focused on that.
We're good.
Alright, so on this side is the closed side of the master link, and this side is the open side. When you install this, you have to slide it from this side to that side. So when you put it in a chain, you want to do it so that as the chain rotates, this is always going forward. That end of it's always going forward. And that way, if you happen to hit a stick or a brush or you rub up against something, it doesn't knock this thing off of that chain. So let's put these things together now. Actually, I'll just take off my other glove. Already got the chain kind of laid in there. We're going to take that part, squeeze everything together. At least I hope we are. I should have generated a little bit of slack there. There we go. All right. And then that is kind of the cap for that part of the link. And we'll put that over there as well. I'm going to use some pliers to squeeze things together, because you got to get at those little tracks that are down in there. Now we're going to put the clip on so that this part of the chain is going to be moving forward as it drives the wheels. So I'm going to put that part of the link going forward, and then try and slide it into place. Sorry, camera girl, I'm bumping your
It's okay.
bumping your arm.
My arms are gonna fall off.
All right. All right. Cool. So that's on. It's a little tight. There's not a whole lot of slack in that chain. Of course, this sprocket is garbage. I'm not too worried about it. And we're going to move to a whole different drive setup for the later motor. So for now, I think that'll be just fine. we'll let that do a little self-clearancing on its own.
Thanks for watching episode 4
of Daddy-Daughter Fabrication. In this episode, we got the rear axle installed, we got all the hubs tightened down, we got all the disc brakes installed. Thanks Chad at BMI Karts. We got the chain installed, we got that adjusted. That's it. Make sure you like and subscribe, and stay tuned for episode 5 where we create a bracket to hold the new rear brake disc caliper thingy. Stay tuned.